All right, back here, and I have to give a shout out to our good friend Greg from Hot Zone with a Texas fun fact.
Ooh, fun fact from Texas.
Cowboy boots that come to a point are called cockroach kickers.
Why would they be called cockroach kickers?
Because apparently the when you got a pointy boot, you can kick the corner of a room where the cockroach is.
Oh, that's the more you know. I've heard cowboy boots called other things. I've never heard them called a cockroach kicker, but I'll go with it. I'm in.
Yeah.
All right. We've got the battery destroyers.
Yeah.
We got that episode coming out soon. It's in the works, and some arson investigation points, or we're going to be looking at it kind of from an arson investigation point of view. And congratulations on Bob's new birth of a brand new podcast. The Hazmat Guys is releasing the Hazard Class podcast with our very own Jake. Thank you to him for taking this on. By the way, we've both been on the show. It's a phenomenal show. He does a great job interviewing and asking questions, and he really does ask some dumb questions.
It won't be on this feed. You're going to have to go find it. Look for Hazard Class, and also we're testing out a new news type podcast, which will be on this feed for a little while, and then we'll see what happens after that. So
you got another one coming to the birthing canal.
I love it. And without more further ado, we should probably bring in our two guests and get that going. So we'll see you in a second. Well, we're back with another episode.
We're calling this one MEP Madness.
There's some madness in this map.
Oh, yeah. You're here with two of our favorites, Ronnie Corsal and Bobby Muser. Associate with
in some kind of a deal in which our labor was exchanged for cash. Yes. Yeah.
But
back then for you guys.
Yeah, it's funny because the paths crossed again, and we put on. I hate to say we, like I did something. They put on a spectacular show in a county down south. But before we get into that, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Ronnie, why don't you tell them where you are? Let's say that. How's it?
All right. Yep. I am. I've been a firefighter for about 20 years, and my current role puts me as a supervisor. I oversee units responding to fires and emergencies, and also in the planning stages for future incidents. I started doing exercise design about 16 years ago, conducting numerous drills with utility companies, high-profile venues, major sports arenas. I love doing exercises. Each one is unique, and they all have their challenges. I got into it kind of by accident. I joined the local volunteer firehouse down the block from my house at 18, and once my employer got word that I was doing some exercise design, when I got on the fire department, they kind of pulled me into that lifestyle.
Bobby, what about you?
Well, I guess I got about 25 years in the fire service, started as a volunteer, and my current position I've been in for 19 years, surrounded by tall buildings somewhere in the Northeast, a complex area.
Boston's a lovely area.
Yeah. As you can tell by my wicked accent. Yeah, I got involved with exercise design about 12 or 13 years ago. Through Ronnie, I needed a light duty spot. And then kind of saw what was going on inside that building and was intrigued with what they were doing as far as kind of intelligence and analysis and looking at things that we needed to work for disaster preparedness and counterterrorism. So I stayed involved, and I eventually got involved with exercise design, doing developing and participating in exercises for like Major League Baseball, health and hospital systems, critical infrastructure, transportation hubs, utility structures, emergency management organizations. It was great. So it's really from, being at the lower level of the organization to seeing how that 30,000 foot view kind of looks like. So
what is, all right. I'll go out, a department will ask me to come do a drill. Okay, great. throw out a couple propane tanks and we say, okay, go. How does MEP exercise differ than just that hands-on scenario that we put on day in and day out?
I would say the structure, right? Like, so the MEP, to clarify what a MEP is, really is a master exercise practitioner. It's a very tough certification to get. You have to take about 10 prerequisite courses in Homeland Security exercise evaluation to make sure that when you develop these drills or exercises, it fits a specific format for FEMA, right? And the government, the structure. So it's, to expand on a drill, it's kind of like the mother of all drills, as we call it here in the area, but it fits a specific structure. There's guidelines to go by, there's on-ramping, there's a lead up to developing an exercise that kind of fits that specific format so that everything is done the correct way to fit the template as we build up to things like a tabletop or a full scale. That's where we get all the information from the stakeholders looking to conduct something like we did. On
average, from start to finish, how long does your exercise last from the time you kind of start building it, and what's involved with a MEP that might not be involved with other quote unquote hands-on exercise?
Well,
before we get there, a tabletop, for the people out there who don't know what a tabletop is, it's a discussion-based exercise, right? That's driven by key personnel. So we all get the key players in a room, right? And we go through a scenario, and we kind of discuss and talk about how how they would respond and do what they would normally do on a day-to-day basis, right? And then on a full scale, yeah.
If I was like an officer of a truck, I would play that role out loud. I'd be like, all right, we arrive on scene. I would have my inside team do this. I'd have my outside team do this, and based upon that evaluation, you help structure the hands-on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Also, you have in the room, you have dispatch in the room. You have the incident commander. So everyone kind of talks through how it goes. The 911 call comes in. How does it get put into the system? How do they dispatch the units out? What is, who gets dispatched first? Where do they go? All that kind of stuff. We go from the beginning of the incident and we walk through everything with the players in the room. And that kind of differs than just throwing propane tanks out and, burning them off.
Yeah. Imagine a kitchen table talk about a scenario, right? You throw it on the chalkboard in the kitchen and you have two companies, right? You go through it, you walk through, give scenarios. What would you do? What would you do? You walk around the kitchen, say, all right, you're the OV or you have the can. What are you guys going to do in this situation? And you take that and now you substitute the guys in the company with different organizations or agencies. And then you walk through the room, and going from 10 guys, it can expand to 60 people from different agencies and organizations where you kind of find do like a gap analysis.
So and what is huge about that is that some outside agencies think that the fire department does A, B, and C, but we're not. We're going to come in and do something different. And the same thing, we think the outside agency is capable of handling something, and they're not. So when you get all these key players in the room, it really works out well that everyone kind of gets on the same page, and it's huge. It's just huge, and it's such a simple thing to talk about, but to get everyone in that room is very, very hard.
Very difficult. Like herding cats. As MEPs, as masters of exercise practitioners, what do you look to? What do you get out of the tabletop? What is your education and experience? What are you pulling away from that exercise?
Improvement planning.
Planning. Okay.
Really, we're trying to find gaps, right, in an organization or just coordination amongst different agencies. So just for instance, the tabletop down south, Ronnie and I were down there, about 60 people, different organizations, 6 paid departments, several volunteer departments, emergency management agency, hospital system, EMS. We walked through a scenario, and our job is to really facilitate the discussion and ask questions. Okay, like we present the scenario, we present maps, discussion-based points. We're really looking to kind of speak 20% of the time. 80% of the time, it should be the participants. They're walking through their procedures. They're talking through their procedures. They're explaining what they would do. And sometimes they say, you know what, we didn't think about that, and we don't have a scenario. And that's an important point that will, we pull out and try and put in the after action. Is to find the things that they haven't thought about yet, or, kind of nudge them a little bit to say, hey, did you think about this? How about this tactic? Or what would you do in this instance? Kind of prod them a little bit in certain directions to kind of find, those gaps where they need to kind of tighten up and fix.
So the tabletop is really more of a command point of view, correct?
In a way. We'll say most of the tabletops we engage in, right, you'll have supervisors, you'll have company officers. Every once in a while, you have subject matter experts, that are boots on the ground operators riding the back step just because of their knowledge base, right?
Okay.
Hazmat specialists. But it's more of a command level. You try not to get into the weeds. You try and keep it at that 30,000 foot view.
So you had the tabletop, and I know in this exercise, the tabletop was amount of time before the actual exercise. What happens between the tabletop and the exercise?
So in this instance, it wasn't that far in advance. Usually we have more time, but because we had such a good tabletop and such a good discussion, following the tabletop, we put together about a 10-page after action report. So we pull everything out of the after action, out of the tabletop, develop it into an after action report with observations, recommendations, and analysis. We kind of offer some improvement planning on it. And we take that after action report from the tabletop and we start our meetings for the full scale exercise. So we start building into, let's say, phase 2, which would be the full operations based exercise. And we kind of look at what we pulled from the tabletop. And now we're going to try and do that on an operations based level exercise where we have the boots on the ground, multi-agency incident, all operating together, full on hands on exercise.
Hey, and again, I was lightly involved in this. I was down there as like, the audio visual guy, because we added a little that's not typical and normal. At tabletop, we actually transmitted it and made it a website so that other people that couldn't make the drill able to make the drill virtual, a phone or whatever the hell you want to call it. But one of the things that I got out of it, and I'm speaking mostly to Mike right now, is that the tabletop was like the read-through they do before they shoot the movie. We're plotting out where you're going to stand, how you're going to move, and then it came over to the road, and don't always dance the way you say you dance.
Right.
and it was very different. Yeah.
So the full scale exercise, as you can see, it's real in real time, right? So it's pretty much a real incident that the units respond to, and they operate and act as if they would if it really happened, right? So this is putting this together in what was how many weeks, Bobby? 8 weeks time frame?
The turnaround from finishing the after action to actually conducting the exercise was about 6 weeks, which was super, super fast.
6 weeks. That's a short period of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like when I run a drill, I'm usually telling the guys like, okay, guys, this is what we got. And then 30 seconds later, they're out trying to do it. 6 weeks.
Well, if you look at it, right. So a full scale exercise done through a master exercise practitioner standpoint, right? We had, I think the sign-in sheets, we had upwards of 120 participants. We had 6 paid departments from all over the county. Some departments drove an hour and a half because most of these departments never train together. So our goal was to give everyone something to do. So we made an operations-based piece. First and foremost, they knew what they wanted to train and exercise, which was a home run for us because we kind of knew what scenario they were looking for. So we built on their recommendations as stakeholders.
Okay.
So we gave them an operations piece. We gave them extrication, fire suppression, hazmat mitigation, hazmat metering, which was a good point. In fact, we tested a new application which allowed some of the participants to use an app on the phone to simulate what the chemical was giving off in the area. So we had operations level tactics, awareness level tactics, fire suppression, extrication. We even had one of our team members is a press information officer. We added a piece for the emergency management agency to do a press report or a press briefing.
But really, I mean, it really simulates a real incident. Like,
absolutely,
as if you were doing everything from start to finish.
Yeah, but pulling back the curtain a little bit is that we create this this document called a measle, and from there is our script. So during this exercise, I was I was dealing with the measle and kind of like a maestro, and Bobby was out in the field down range telling me, all right, add some more, take the add another inject, or hold up, don't put another inject in. So it kind of grows as you're doing this thing, as you're building these, as you're doing the exercise.
What's an inject? I'm sorry, is that like a medical thing?
No, inject would be like, all right, now the car's on fire, right? The car that they're executing is on fire, so they have to do something for that. All right, now the fire's out. So these injects is what we put to steer the exercise.
Okay. You kind of running the pace, right? Ronnie's like the choreographer and the pace setter of the exercise. Our role as, exercise directors is to not overwhelm the members that are being involved in the exercise. So we want to have a good steady pace where they're getting the work, but we don't want to overwhelm them as well, right? So part of that full scale exercise, there was a huge incident command piece and command and control that we needed to examine and pull some highlights out of. And really, there's one incident commander that responds to the scene, and it can be overwhelming, right? As a supervisor, and understanding that in certain incidents, like, the amount of information that's coming in sometimes gets overwhelming, and you have to take a step back. So
if you guys are evaluating the incident as it goes along, and how are you running the drill and evaluating and injecting and doing all these things at once?
So we have a team, right? We ourselves and the hazmat guys. We brought down 4 MEPs, including ourselves, and 2 subject matter experts from the hazmat guys training team. Both dual served as evaluators and exercise coordinators. But Ronnie's role was pretty much just handling the scenario and the injects. Okay. I was tasked with kind of overseeing the exercise, but also being embedded with the incident commander, just seeing what he was doing.
So everybody's got a spot that they're overseeing.
Yes. The other thing is we were able to use the local SMEs, right? So we build a planning team anytime we're developing an exercise. We have usually 4 planning meetings leading up to the tabletop and the full scale. And we were able to use officers and chiefs from departments in the area and the dispatch center, and basically embed them with the exercise team and harness their knowledge of the area and expertise on the procedures, where they can say, hey, listen, this went well, this didn't go well, and this is what we should do better, so that we're not coming in from the Northeast going down south and saying, well, this is what we do. That's not our job. Our job is to get that information out from everyone down in the area. Yeah.
Another cool thing we did with this exercise that we use local sheriffs, drones, and robots. So one of the injects was a missing child, and we had a missing child walking around the woods, and the drone had to go up and find the
like a real kid.
Yeah. One of the guy's kids.
That's a legit kid. It's not like a mannequin you throw in there.
He's running around.
What a cool gig.
Well, it was a good inject, and it was a great inject because, a lot of the units in that area weren't aware of the capabilities that law enforcement had, such so that they used the UAV to do some reconnaissance, but they also used a robot dog to deliver tools downrange when they needed tools. Instead of bringing the team out, they gave it to this robotic dog and walked it in. But that's something they had never trained before and just came up in the tabletop. So that was
how do we strap it to it? Like the question, they're like, how do we get the wrench on the dog? And they were like,
it actually had hands.
It had hands.
It lacked the opposable thumbs. You can't do that, Greg.
Wow. Okay. So what was give us an idea of what paint the picture of what was the scenario that you guys did down south?
Well, the tabletop, since it was discussion based, we just really did an offloading mishap with a hazmat release and fire, so they had to deal with that discussion based. For the full scale and needing to kind of encompass some first two units that were more operations based and not hazmat technicians, we were lucky enough to have a partner down there who owned the facility we were operating on come up with some vehicles. So from a rec yard. So we did a car versus a train, which in that area is something that could have happened because there are no, there's crossings without crossing guards and the flashing lights down there. But so we did the car versus the train and simulated a leak. The car went on fire. Fire suppression. They had to mitigate the leak, which took a while. They had to figure out what was leaking, do the placarding, relay that up the chain. It was good. It wasn't an overwhelming scenario, and we were able to actually partner up with CSX Transportation, who brought down a training car, a triple dome training car that could simulate a leak wherever you wanted, and they can get downrange. Turn some screws, nuts and bolts, really work with that, and get their hands on it, suit up and really get dirty, which was great.
What were some of the takeaways, right? Obviously, there's amount of manpower. I know you guys in ridiculous number of man hours to put this together. So what did they get out of it? Like, what was kind of the final outcome of, the MEP drill is over and then the departments and all the participants like, hey, this is better. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I call it a compliment sandwich, right? Like, you don't want to tell someone, this is what you did wrong. This is what you did wrong. You can do this better. They did a lot of things great down there because that was the first time they were exercising together as a unit. But with that, brings to the surface some things that they did need to work on. Mutual aid requests being one. Operating together in a hazmat technician capability was another, especially with the decon corridor and figuring out how do they perform their decon. Some departments were doing a different method than the other department, which was 40 minutes away. So now they're going to work on streamlining that process. How the
EOC can support the units on the scene. We had to inject about fuel, right? Where they get fuel from. They didn't know. We couldn't get fuel in real life. If they had a real life incident that day, there would be no fuel for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to have a hazmat exercise. Like, we really elevated maybe some needs for additional training and staffing countywide for them, just because they're really spread pretty thin as far as their technician level staffing. But we were able to check boxes like the press information officer getting a task, logistics. The fuel request kind of sent everyone like, oh, where do we get fuel from? It's something to think about that wasn't thought about before.
Was the fuel request an inject, or did somebody actually run low and they were like, we're going to run out of fuel?
It was an inject.
Inject.
Yeah.
That's I don't think I would have ever thought about being like, hey, your rig's about to shut.
So
like I would be the pump operator and be like, what a douchebag, really?
Right. So that's the process. Like, the process behind the exercise is where really, like, that's where we make our bones. Is we spend hours and hours and hours developing the exercise and the documentation and going through, like, the measle, for instance. Ronnie and I go back and forth. What about this? What about this? Did we think about this? And even when we brought our team down there for the full scale, we had 4 maps sitting at the table after we did our recon on the first day, and we tweaked some stuff because the guys and their experience had a lot to offer, and say, hey, they were looking at it from a different angle and said, did we think about this? No, we didn't think about that. We could probably do that and make it a little better. And that's what our team brings to the table, is the experience.
Bobby was starving that day. Bobby was starving, and we wouldn't let him eat until we were done. He was dying.
I've seen him go like 72 hours fasting. He wasn't hungry.
I feel like we came back. We spent like 4 hours at the table. We were there. We were sitting at that table for 4 hours because we were just going.
He was
on a
eating at a
stick of
Circle
butter.
K, I think. Circle K. He was eating.
Licking butter patties for breakfast.
Here's the is like you got this whole amount of planning. You think about the getting two guys down to reality, to tabletop, bringing all these people together, the production, the travel, and then you're bringing down a whole bunch of people for the exercise, coordination of all. Imagine that this costs a lot of money, and it does. No matter who, what, or where you do, this costs money. But luckily, we have a way of paying for this.
Yeah, who would pay for this? I mean, if a single department is not the only ones doing it, like who ends up flipping the bill for that?
Like
that's the draw.
That's the draw, and that's
It
why our certifications come into play, because we document the process, the planning, everything to the T to fit the funding guidelines, so that
of course grants.
Gotcha. Grants. So the Master Exercise Practitioner certification, gives you the ability to conform with the guidelines in which the grants funds are dispersed. So when, a county or local emergency planning committee wants to do something and they get the funding for it, they can turn to us and say, hey, listen, we have this much, what can we get for it? I said, we'll make whatever we can do to make it fit your needs. And it'll fit the guidelines of the grant. And that's what we do.
That's the beauty of it. Cause based upon when we're doing this now, we are ready with the guys that will get you the money. Next week, you'll get to actually connect, and they're going to give you all on how to get guys in your locality to get these drills to test your county, your state, or country. If allowed to do that, I don't even know if that's.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it. There's no drill too big or too small.
I would imagine with U2's experience, that was definitely a very New York news. With U2's experience, things that have happened to here can actually play a part in being like, okay, this has happened to me. I know somebody that this has happened to. Let's test this. Guys are prepared to deal.
Yes, and again, it's not just us two. I mean, we're spearheading the initiative, but we have a team of MEPs that have all upwards decades of experience dealing with things, in various areas. So we have a large network to pull from to make sure that we can tailor whatever exercise you're looking for and develop it to whichever, like, what do you want to hit? What's your agency looking to do?
We were very fortunate in learning our exercise design. The members that taught us, our mentors, were phenomenal, probably the best in the country, and they're very versed in all types of all hazard exercises. So we have them part of our team, and we can grab them and bring them with us whenever we want, no matter how big or how small the drills are or exercises are. We can bring them with us.
Yeah, and even down south, real quick, like we're still operators. We're still out there taking in runs and running around. The tall buildings.
Oh, sure. Rub it
right.
in.
I got
we're still doing it. So, while we were dealing with down south, we were still coming back home and operating. So, when we speak with these departments and the members, officers, firefighters, and chiefs, we're there doing it, and our concern is to just make everyone better. If we can get everyone a little percentage better, we walk away with a win. And that's the goal.
I love it.
Thanks for taking the time to give us a little education on MEPing.
Ronnie.
That doesn't sound
to you. Make exercises great again.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming on. And remember, everybody, next week, we're going to tell you how to connect these guys to the